I hit it. I kill it. I stab it, I slap it, I break it, I burn it down. I stab him in the face, I stab him in the back, I cut his head off, I destroy him with my power. Hello and welcome to this episode of How to Be a Great Player. My name is Guy and I'm going to be taking you through Are You a Murder Hobo? And the 6 signs that you might very well be. Now, why are murder hobos looked upon so negatively? When it's just something that we do in most computer games, isn't it? It's something that we do in real life. We just walk around killing people. No, wait a minute. No, we don't actually. We talk to them and we find out things and we find solutions and that sort of thing. And yes, you're playing a game and most games advocate kill, stab, maim and destroy. However, in role-playing it's slightly different. So let's have a look at what could potentially make you an insidious, lowly, disgusting murder hobo. Yes, murder hobo. Let's see. First one. You attack without provocation. Oh, there's a villager in a field. I shoot him with an arrow. Why? So, do you attack NPCs, monsters, characters on sight, straight away without asking questions? Do you just attack them when they make you irritated or angry? Do you just attack them because they're standing there and they have red hair? If you attack without provocation, you're probably a murder hobo. Do you think that killing things is the ultimate solution? Do you think that murdering something is an easy solution? Is it easier to murder than it is to talk? Maybe. Even if it's easier to just attack than it is to negotiate, well, then you're definitely a murder hobo. Or maybe you just don't care. Maybe you think that it's just a game. That, well, it's just dice and paper. It's all make-believe, isn't it? So of course I'm going to cut his head off, because I can. Well, then you're definitely a murder hobo. Now, before I hit the last 2 types of murder hobo, I want to point out that the rest of this video is dedicated to unpacking these 6 problem areas that will cause you to be a murder hobo, and to look critically at it and see whether or not maybe you should change your ways. Now, the other thing, of course, is that if you think that being a murder hobo is amazingly awesome and wonderful, well, then this video is not for you. There are certainly groups out there who just like to go in, hack and slash, play Diablo, and kill everything that moves, except for the stuff that they can't kill, like gazebos and jams of marmalade. So if that's your bag, if that's what you like doing, then this video is definitely not for you. But if you suspect that you might be a murder hobo, carry on watching and I'll show you how or why you can correct those actions and maybe have a better game. All right, number 5. Hit things and doing awesome... Oh, sorry, I can't read my own handwriting. Hitting things and doing awesome combo moves to get the highest score is your thing. You like to get combos. If I take this skill, that feat, this trait, that ability, I can do 100 damage in 1 hit. That's amazing. I hit everything. Butterfly dead, dog dead, woman dead, man dead, sandwich dead. I did all those combos. It's amazing. If you like combos, well, I will deal with later what happens if you like combos. And then finally, well, maybe you're just too embarrassed to roleplay and you don't want to put yourself out there, so you just hit it until it's dead. That's easier than talking to it. There is that. You could be that type of murder hobo. And that is the most difficult type of murder hobo to overcome. So, how do we now deal with those 6 different ways in which you could be a murder hobo? And how do we make it better so that we avoid you being a murder hobo and that you can integrate with the rest of your group and people will still start talking to you again? Well, some of the time before we start that, let's look at why you shouldn't be a murder hobo. Maybe you don't see anything wrong with it. Maybe you think that it's perfectly fine. Well, one of the big things that happens when you just kill everything is that you completely divorce yourself of story. If everything just dies, how is the GM supposed to give you your background? How is the GM supposed to give you your clues? How is the GM supposed to give you anything other than loot, which doesn't really progress the story much. So if you're not interested in story, then murder hoboing is, well, the right way to go. But if you do like story, you're not going to get any by killing everything that moves in your path. Now, the other thing is that the GM might be forcing you to be a murder hobo. And that is something very important. You need to look at your GM style and say, well, every NPC attacks us, so we attack every NPC. Every person we deal with betrays us at the end, so we might as well just get it over with and get rid of them now. If your GM is giving you one-dimensional characters to interact with, and they're always aggressive, well, maybe they're forcing you to be a murder hobo, in which case then change the GM by educating them, showing them yesterday's video, which was how to avoid creating murder hobos if you're a GM. Maybe it's a case of just chatting to the GM saying, well, we'd actually like some riddles or some story behind this. We don't want to just kill everything. So maybe there's that. And then you have to ask yourself, well, if everybody just wants to play a Diablo-style game where you run around killing every monster you see, maybe that's a good thing. That can actually be a very fun game, and many people might enjoy that sort of style. So it's something to ask. On the other hand, you might have other players who absolutely abhor every type of contact that they have with foreign characters because yours just kills them straight away. And you're causing other people to not enjoy their game. So that's something to think about as well, is ask the fellow players, your fellow players, do you like this kind of stuff? In which case, if they say yes, well, then you're golden. You don't have to watch the rest of the video. If, however, they say no, you should probably watch the rest of the video. So let's go and look at it now. Now, you've got the attack without provocation. You attack everything, you just kill it, you shoot it, you maim it, you stab it. What you're doing is you are taking agency away from your fellow players and from the GM. Your actions of just killing everything, you might find it fun, but all that you're doing is denying the GM the opportunity to give you any kind of information or to have any kind of story progression whatsoever, and you are denying your fellow players the ability to find out stuff, to use some of the skills like persuasion, negotiation, bluff, perception, insight. All of those wonderful skills were written down for a reason, and they don't get used if everything's head has been cut off. So if you just attack without provocation and your GM has not established that this is how the world operates, you are a murder hobo and should possibly go and play with other murder hobos, because all that you're doing is ruining the game for everybody else. The GM just cannot give information to people if you kill everybody on sight. And if you threaten everybody at the point of a sword, tell me the information I need to know, well, you're also taking away agency from other players' characters who might want to go a more subtle route. So your actions are, although you might find them fun, they actually don't lead to any kind of story whatsoever. And if you're complaining that your GM, oh, he never gives us a story, is that because you're cutting the heads off of his NPCs before he can give you the story? Think about that. So, how about not killing everything that you see on sight? I know it's difficult, but it is something that you can actually do. Next time you see an NPC, you know what? Instead of stabbing them with your sword, throw your sword into the lake and let your fellow players have a conversation with them so they can actually see what's going on before you realize that you need to pick up your sword from the lake so that you can defend yourself from the NPC. Murder is a solution to everything. If you believe that's to be true, then in video games, yes, that's absolutely true. But we are in a role-playing game. A role-playing game, not a murder game, not a combat game. It is a role-playing game. You are playing the role of another creature in another world. In this world, do you run around killing everybody? The grocer looks at you skewly. The grocer overcharges you. You cut their head off? No. No, you don't. So why do you do it in the computer game, or in the role-playing world? If you believe that that is the right course of action, is just to kill everything to get to your solution, you're not thinking hard enough, or you're not looking at the opportunities that the game presents you with to be able to do that. And if you're getting frustrated because you're not smart enough to work out the riddles that the GM is giving you, talk to the GM and say, listen, I'm not very good at that kind of thing. I go to GMs and say, listen, you can give us riddles, but I think too hard and too long and I get frustrated because I don't get the right answers. That doesn't mean that I'm a murder hobo and I'll kill everything. That just means I'm letting the GM know that they need to tone down the intellectual capacity of their game because I'm a bit thick. I don't have to kill everything to make my point. Now, you don't care because it's just a game. That kind of attitude is it completely and utterly disrespects your game master, and it means that you've never been a game master either, because the game master has spent hours drawing maps, coming up with NPCs, trying to create an interesting story, and you think it's just a game that you show up for, you socialize with other people, and you kill some creatures because it's cool. If you think it's just a game, there's no hope for you, and you should stop playing. It's not just a game. It's a large amount of work and effort on behalf of other people that you completely and utterly disregard when you say it's just a game. It is not just a game, all right? So how do you avoid being a murder hobo if you think it's just a game? Stop thinking it's just a game and put some effort into your character like everybody else is doing and like the GM is doing, and maybe you'll find out that there's more to it than it's just a game. That's like saying football is just a game, or baseball or basketball is just a game. There's far more to it than just a game. You don't like talking. You just want action. You just want to move from one scene to the next scene to the next scene. Well, all that you're doing with that is that you are simply robbing any subtlety from the game. Yes, if your GM has bad pacing, if your GM doesn't progress the story along, and it is, GM, we've been walking across this field for 3 hours in real time. In game time, it's been 10 minutes. Why is it taking longer for us to actually walk across the field than it would take us to actually walk across the field? If your GM is very slow at acting, you might get frustrated and start hitting things. I know that I have done that. But that's only on occasion, and that's with a poor GM. If your GM does that regularly, send them over to the channel so they can watch how to set pace properly, so they can look out for things when players get bored. But if you're just doing it because you don't care about the talking and all of that kind of wishy-washy, namby-pamby, yellow fried tomato nonsense, well, then that's absolutely fine. But you need to let your GM know that so that they can handle that in a certain way. Quest done? Good. Gold, here we go. Goodbye. Next quest, kill stuff. Go. Then they'll just do that for the dialogue, and you can move straight on to killing whatever it is that they've given you on the list to kill. Again, this is about playing style, and if you are just going to be aggressive and kill stuff because you couldn't be bothered to change the way the game is running, or to adapt, or to spend a few minutes listening to dialogue, well, yeah, then there we go. Hitting things and doing awesome combos is super cool. Well, yes, the game has a mathematical component, and there are many players out there who like to take advantage of all those complex rules and find the little loopholes to create infinite damage or recursive this or that, or however that might be. If your party are all like that, if you all sit around the table trying to work out the ultimate combination of stuff to create the ultimate combination of values, you have to bear in mind, this is an imaginary game. All that you're doing is you're proving mathematical superiority in terms of adding up random imaginary stuff to kill random imaginary stuff. So if you just kill stuff so that you can work out better combos, there are many, many maths games out there that like that sort of thing and that promote that sort of thing. There are many, many, many role-playing systems out there that are ridiculously complex in terms of their mathematical calculations. Find those, find a group that likes to do that, and then play with them. But if you're the only one at the table who sits back with a smug face and this supercilious grin going, oh, look, I managed to work the system so that I could do an infinite amount of damage, I'm so smart, and the rest of your players are going, yeah, okay, great. Right, so we're going to walk over to the... If that's the reaction that you consistently get every time you talk about this amazing combo of stuff, guess what? You're on your own, you're a murder hobo, and the rest of the group probably doesn't like playing with you. So sit back and reflect. Does it really matter that you do so much damage? It's all make-believe and made up anyway. And whether you manipulate the system to get more of that stuff or less of that stuff, I think you've missed the point of role-playing. And finally, you're embarrassed to talk. You don't want to engage because you don't know what to say, or, well, it's easier just to stab it than it is to try and think of cool stuff. And I can't talk. That's a genuine concern, and I'm pleased to say that you should be in an environment where you are absolutely free to express yourself. If your fellow players are sitting at the table and they laugh at you when you try and talk, or they belittle you, those are not friends. Those are simply people who have you there because you provide snacks or drinks, or because they can't tell you to go away. Your role-playing space should be a space where you get to geek out completely, and where you get to do whatever it is that makes you comfortable. And if your fellow players are not supporting you, well, it's time to find different players. I cannot tell you the amount of times that I have heard people who stutter, or who have Asperger's, or who are transsexual, or who are intimidated because they have a squinting eye, or who are slightly deaf, or who are slightly slow, sit at tables and say, listen guys, you're going to have to bear with me. I have this syndrome, I have this condition, I'm this kind of person, I have this, I do this. They list it and everyone goes, yeah, all right, fine, whatever. Okay, good. So we have to speak louder for you? Fine, we'll do that. Or you want to dress up as a panda and sit there and play? Well, as long as you don't get too hot and pass out, knock yourself out. If you don't have a group that supports you, you've got a group who judges you, find a different group, trust me. It's not worth your life to waste it on a bunch of hyenas who serve no value to you, aside from keeping you down. Everybody deserves to have a say at the table, regardless of how they do it. So, if that is why you are simply killing stuff because the rest of your party don't allow you to be who you are, because they are themselves insecure in who they are, well, then I would say, Karen, being a murder hobo, kill everybody, including their characters as well. If people don't accept you for who you are, then you shouldn't be in their company. You should find different company. So, the long and short of it is, if you are a murder hobo and you think that it's good to be a murder hobo, find other murder hobos to play with. Don't ruin the game for everybody else. If you have accidentally been a murder hobo because of the various reasons that I listed in this video, you can correct it, whether by talking to your GM, your fellow players, or just reassessing how you look at the game. There is so much more to this wonderful, wonderful hobby of ours than just killing imaginary stuff. There really is, and the fulfillment that you get from slaying 100 orcs is nothing in comparison to the fulfillment that you will get of solving a complex story that your GM and fellow players have helped weave together, and stepping back going, gosh, we've been on some adventures. Remember that lady we spoke to? Remember that witch we had to convince to do? Remember this, remember that, remember the combats. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be combat, but it should be justified and it should have value. It shouldn't just be random. And if your GM or fellow players have showed you this video, don't take offense to them. They're just trying to have a better game, and they're trying to help you have a better game as well. And that means that they care, because if they didn't, they would simply have said, oh no, the game's been cancelled. Rodney's got kidney stones and Russell died of a thumb infection. So there's no game this Thursday, and don't come to our house either because I'm not going to be there. I'm plucking my canary. So yes, they haven't done that. They've said watch this video and maybe you can learn and adjust and amend your ways so that you can have a far better game than one that you are currently having. Until next time, hit that like button. If you agree with me, hit the subscribe button if you disagree with me. That way you'll get to see whenever videos come out so that you can jump online and write comments saying, I strongly disagree, and this is why. And I would encourage that. And the reason why is because we're all here to learn. So if we see someone writing comments below saying, no, you're absolutely wrong, we get to see why you think I'm wrong. And we get to agree with you. Or we don't. Either way, we have become better role players as a result. So leave your comments below, hit that subscribe button. If you are looking for a group to play with, head on over to www.rpgtablefinder.com and you will find that we have created a matchmaking service for players and role players alike who all subscribe to these channels, who watch these channels, and have a similar mindset. And so hopefully you shouldn't find any murder hobos out there, or if you do, you should find reformed murder hobos. And it's for online as well as round the table playing, and can be a lot of fun to find new groups, especially if you need to find some who are a bit more supporting than your current one. Until next time, however, I wish you and yours the happiest of playing.